Imagine you are standing in front of like a massive cosmic scale. You look at everything you've ever thought was unfair about your life, the missed promotions, the bad luck, the people who just seem to get ahead with like zero effort.
Right, the stuff that keeps you up at night.
Exactly. But then you realize the scale actually balances perfectly to zero. It turns out the unfairness you felt was a complete illusion.
Oh, wow. That is a heavy thought right out of the gate.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking a highly provocative essay by an author named Shuefeng titled, "Do Not Seek Fairness, but Seek Peace of Mind."
And our mission today is to completely shatter your modern everyday obsession with fairness and explore this radically different worldview that the author calls the way of nature.
Yeah, and it's a mission that requires us to totally abandon our usual, human-centric viewpoints. We spend our whole lives being conditioned to demand equity, right?
Oh, absolutely. From the time you're a little kid being told to share your toys, you're taught that fairness is basically the ultimate moral good.
Yeah.
But this text comes in and just flips the table on that entire concept.
It really does flip the table. Right from the jump, the text establishes this striking, almost overwhelming dichotomy. It claims that on a cosmic level, the universe is already perfectly fair.
Yeah, that's the core argument.
The author says that when the what they call the eyes of Dharma are opened, you see that there is no place that isn't fair and no time that isn't just. Now, before we go any further, we need to translate that for you. What exactly does the author mean by the eyes of Dharma?
Well, think of the eyes of Dharma as zooming all the way out, to view the universe from a state of total, objective spiritual enlightenment.
Okay, so like a bird's eye view, but bigger.
Much bigger. It's shedding your personal biases, your human time frame, and your ego so you can look at the machinery of existence as a whole. And when you do that, the author argues, you see this absolute, unyielding structural integrity.
The phrasing the author uses is just so vivid. It says the retribution of cause and effect is not wrong by a hair's breadth.
Not even a hair's breadth.
Right. And it claims that the sum of all positive and negative energy across the universe is exactly zero. It's as sure as nails hammered into a board. I just love that image.
Yeah, it implies this incredibly tight, unbreakable physics to reality. And, what's fascinating here is the immediate visceral tension the author sets up for you.
Oh, definitely.
If the universe operates with the precision of like a closed thermodynamic system where everything perfectly balances to zero, why does your day-to-day life feel so incredibly unequal?
Yeah, why does looking out your living room window feel so unjust?
Exactly. But the beauty of this essay is that it doesn't gaslight you. It doesn't deny your lived experience at all. It acknowledges the chaos head on.
Right, it moves straight from that grand cosmic zero-sum equation right down into the mud, into the harsh reality of the food chain.
Literal food chain.
Yeah. The text lists this cascade of visible unfairness that we see every single day. It points out that facing cats, the world is completely unfair to mice.
Which is very true for the mouse.
Very true. Facing lions, tigers, and wolves, the world is a total nightmare for the antelope or the deer. Facing birds, it's totally unfair to insects.
I mean, from the antelope's perspective, being eaten is the ultimate injustice. But from the perspective of the ecosystem, from those eyes of Dharma, it's a perfectly balanced transfer of energy. It's just nutrient cycling.
Wow, nutrient cycling. That's a cold way to put it, but yeah.
Right. But the text doesn't just leave it at the animal kingdom. It scales this reality right up to human beings.
Right, because facing people, the world is unfair to animals and plants. And then zooming in on humanity itself, the disparities are glaring.
They're everywhere.
Some people are born handsome or beautiful, while others are described as having a wretched appearance, making people unwilling to even, take a second look.
And some are born into absolute luxury, right? While others struggle their entire lives just grinding away and still can't live without worrying about basic food and clothing, even into their old age.
It's brutal.
It is. Some are born highly intelligent, others are dull. The text makes it explicitly clear, as long as we're looking around and comparing, we will find that the world is unfair everywhere.
Okay, let's unpack this, because it feels like a massive contradiction at first glance for anyone trying to make sense of this. How can the universe be perfectly fair and entirely unfair at the exact same time?
That's a great question.
I like to think of it like a massive corporate accounting ledger. Like, if you're the CEO looking at the master ledger at the very end of the fiscal year, All the debits and credits balance out perfectly. Everything adds up to zero. The company is stable.
Right, that's the cosmic view.
Exactly. But if you zoom in on just one random Tuesday and you look at one specific department, say the marketing department getting a huge multi-million-dollar budget increase while the research team gets their funding slashed to the bone, it looks wildly chaotic.
It feels like absolute robbery to the research team.
Yes. To the people whose budget got cut, it's the antelope getting eaten by the lion. In that single localized moment, it doesn't look like justice. It looks like a rigged game.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. You're looking at a single microtransaction on a random Tuesday, and you're demanding that it reflect the macro balance of the entire fiscal year.
Which is impossible.
It is. And this is exactly where the author issues a severe, urgent warning to you. Because reality looks like this on the ground, because the antelope gets eaten and your department's budget gets cut. Actively pursuing fairness on that earthly micro level is a trap.
A dangerous, exhausting trap.
Precisely. The text argues that once you start trying to force earthly fairness, it will physically and emotionally break you.
Yeah.
Think about what happens when you obsess over why someone else got the promotion. It causes trouble sleeping. It ruins your appetite. Your life becomes entirely consumed by worries, pain, anger, resentment, jealousy, and hatred.
That's a heavy list.
And by doing that, you systematically strip yourself of happiness, freedom, and bliss. And, as the author dramatically puts it, you remain far from heaven. You essentially lock yourself in a prison of your own making.
So, if the pursuit of fairness is the trap, we really need to look at the mechanism that springs that trap. What is the actual trigger?
Right.
According to this deep dive, the trigger is comparison. The author references Article 1 or 2 of something called the 800 Values for the New Era Humans, and it states, quote, "A mind of comparison is a mind of wickedness."
Wickedness. That is a very strong, very deliberate word choice. It isn't just saying comparison is like bad or unhelpful. It's calling it wicked.
It is, and I actually have to push back here on your behalf listening to this. Is comparison really wickedness? I mean, let's think about the everyday examples the text gives.
Okay, let's hear them.
It talks about feeling uneasy because a neighbor bought a small car, or the Lee family losing sleep because the Zhang family, who used to live in the countryside, suddenly bought a nice house in the city.
Yeah, standard keeping up with the Joneses stuff.
Right, or envying someone who is 1.8 meters tall when you're only 1.7 meters. But wait, isn't wanting a better house or a nicer car just basic human nature? Isn't that just ambition?
That's a fair point.
We literally built modern civilization on the desire for progress and better living standards. Why call it wickedness?
It's a totally valid pushback, and honestly, it's the natural modern response. We revere ambition. But let's look at the underlying psychological and neurological logic the author is using here.
Okay, wait on me.
The text frames this kind of discontent as the ultimate calamity. It quotes an older foundational wisdom: there is no greater sin than desire, and no greater calamity than discontent. The reason comparison is labeled as wickedness is because of what it actively destroys in your brain. It completely blinds you to your baseline of gratitude.
The baseline of gratitude, explain the mechanics of that a bit more. How does comparison destroy it?
Well, think about how the brain processes satisfaction. The author argues that just being born as a human being with normal facial features and functional physiology is already a massive lottery-winning blessing.
Just having things work properly.
Exactly. If you can live your life without major disasters or chronic diseases, the text says it's like burning high-quality incense or your ancestors' graves emitting green smoke.
That's a very cultural way of putting it.
It is. It's a cultural way of saying you are existing in a state of immense, rare fortune. But the moment you introduce an external metric like the neighbor's new car, your brain shifts instantly.
Oh, right.
It moves out of a state of present moment joy and abundance and plummets straight into a state of perceived lack.
I see. So if you have a hut that is sheltered from the wind and rain and you have enough food so you aren't starving, the reality is that you are already winning the cosmic lottery.
Exactly. You've already won. The text paints this beautiful, highly evocative picture. It says that if you have no worries about basic food and clothing, and you can sit down with 3 or 5 close friends to drink and discuss the stars, the seasons, the changing times, the sun and the moon, you are living the life of a little deity.
A little deity. That is such a fantastic phrase. It feels so peaceful.
It really is. It completely reframes ordinary, simple life as something magical and transcendent. So when you bring comparison into that exact same scenario, when you're sitting with your close friends under the stars feeling perfectly content. But then you suddenly realize the Zhang family bought a bigger house in the city, and in a split second, your joy turns to ash that is the wickedness.
Wow.
Because nothing about your actual life changed. The stars are still there, your friends are still there, but you took a divine, perfect moment and ruined it with a superficial earthly metric. That self-inflicted misery is the calamity.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because human comparison isn't just emotionally destructive, according to the text, it's also completely illogical. When we shake our fists at the sky and demand fairness, we're actually being massive hypocrites.
Oh, absolutely. We are incredibly selective about what we want equalized. It's profound cognitive dissonance.
Right. We only want to equalize the good stuff. The text takes our demand for earthly fairness to its ultimate, logical, and honestly, highly absurd conclusion.
It does get pretty dark.
It does. We bounce these scenarios around in our heads like, oh, he has a big house. It isn't fair. I don't have one. But the author asks these brilliant, dark questions that really force you to look in the mirror. Like, if your neighbor's doorstep is piled high with rotting garbage, do you stomp your feet and feel it's only fair to pile garbage on your doorstep too?
Or if someone else's house is washed away in a devastating flood, do you go to the city council and demand that your house be knocked down by a bulldozer in the name of fairness?
Exactly. We can all laugh at how ridiculous that sounds, but it proves the point perfectly. The text asks, do you feel disadvantaged if you don't have someone else's youthful pimples?
Which is funny, but this raises an important question for you to reflect on right now. The text points out medical and legal scenarios to really drive this home.
Right, the extreme examples.
Yeah. If someone has a severe lump on their heart and needs open heart surgery, do you march into the hospital and demand surgery too, just to be fair?
Of course not.
If someone embezzles 100 million yuan, gets caught, and is sent to federal prison for 20 years, do you pack your bags and ask to live in a prison cell too?
It is so funny when you lay it out like that, but it completely shatters the illusion we hold on to. We do not actually want true fairness. That's a lie we tell ourselves.
A total lie.
We want a la carte fairness. We want to treat the universe like a buffet. We just want to pick the luxury cars and the big houses off the menu to balance our personal scales, but we want to leave the garbage, the floods, and the prison sentences entirely off our plates.
And that selective vision, that buffet mentality, points to an even deeper flaw in how we perceive the mechanics of the world.
What do you mean?
Well, if we are guilty of only looking at the superficial, good outcomes, the big house, the promotion, without looking at the bad ones, what else are we failing to see?
I know where you're going with this. We are missing the hidden ledger. We are missing the massive iceberg of cause and effect that sits right beneath the surface of someone else's success.
Exactly. The author shares a very personal, very revealing anecdote to illustrate this blindness. They talk about living in a villa for 20 years. It had a lush green lawn, a large swimming pool, and flourishing flowers and trees.
Sounds amazing.
Right. And they describe enjoying this beautiful scenery on what they call the Balikia Island of the Celestial Islands continent.
Okay, wait, let's pause there for a second. Balikia Island of the Celestial Islands continent sounds like a location in a fantasy novel.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean in the context of this deep dive?
Yeah, that's a great catch. In the author's cosmology, that highly vivid phrase is a metaphor. It represents a pinnacle of peaceful, cultivated existence.
So it's not a real place?
No, it's a spiritual or mental realm of extreme tranquility and alignment with nature. It's not just a physical address, it's a state of being that the author has achieved.
Got it. Okay, so the author is existing in this profoundly cultivated state of peace in a beautiful physical villa. Meanwhile, the hypothetical viewer in the human world, maybe you, maybe me, is looking at this villa and feeling deeply resentful.
Oh, we're fuming.
Right, we're feeling envious. We're pointing at the pool and thinking, where is the fairness in this? Why does he get the pool and the celestial peace while I have to ride the bus to a job I hate?
But the text drops a heavy, sobering dose of reality on that envy. The author states plainly, while you leisurely enjoy TV programs, I am studying hard under the lamp.
Oof. That hits so close to home. Think about how directly that translates to your life today.
It really does.
It's exactly like scrolling social media at midnight, lying comfortably on the couch, looking at someone's incredible career milestone or their amazing physical fitness transformation, and feeling that sharp, bitter sting of unfairness.
But we've all been there.
But we are completely blind to the fact that they've been waking up at 5 a.m. every single day for a decade. We don't see them eating plain chicken and broccoli or grinding through humiliating failures and rejections while we were busy binge-watching a new streaming series.
It's the ultimate human blind spot. The text uses a great old saying to summarize this perfectly. For 10 years, no one asked about the hardships of studying, but once you're recognized, everyone knows.
That is so true.
When you look at someone else, you only see the recognition. You only see the villa. You almost never see the 10 years of isolation, the sweat, and the solitary effort under the lamp.
Because the effort is invisible.
Yes. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it brings us entirely full circle back to the very first paragraph of the deep dive.
The cause and effect.
Exactly. The hidden effort. The grueling decade of studying under the lamp, the 5 a.m. wake-ups, that is the cause. The villa, or the recognition, is simply the effect. When we say the universe is completely fair, this is what it means. The scales actually do balance to zero.
Wow.
The viewer just didn't see the cause that produced the effect. Going back to your analogy earlier, you were looking at the end-of-year corporate ledger and only noticing the massive final profit, entirely ignoring the thousands of grueling daily microtransactions that built it.
That makes so much sense. So understanding this, you might think the text is just a motivational speech.
Right, like a hustle culture thing.
Exactly. You might think it's saying, stop complaining about fairness, put your head down, and put effort into places where no one knows so you can get your own villa.
Yeah.
But then the essay takes one final, highly unexpected pivot.
It does. Because working in secret just to get a material reward is still playing the earthly game. It's still pursuing a la carte fairness. The author says that actually, speaking from the true way of nature, you don't even need to put effort into places where no one knows just to get a reward. That isn't the point of life at all.
So what does this all mean? If we shouldn't pursue fairness, and we shouldn't even secretly grind away just to achieve some superficial reward like a villa to balance our own personal scales, what is the actual goal of human life according to this text?
The goal, very simply and profoundly, is peace of mind. That is the ultimate prescription for the modern listener. Not equity, not wealth, just peace of mind.
And the essay defines peace of mind very clearly, doesn't it? It isn't some vague, floaty, New Age concept.
No, it's highly practical and rooted in action. The text says peace of mind means do not harm others, do not harm nature.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, it tells you to respect the greatest creator, which, in this context, is the author's way of describing the ultimate source, the overarching intelligence or natural order of the universe. It means respecting life and respecting the flow of nature itself.
And if you do that,
if you let go of your desperate grip on the scales of fairness and just follow this way of nature, the text promises that you will be extremely auspicious. You will be justified in your peace of mind, and you will be able to walk toward heaven.
it's a complete paradigm shift. It is asking you to fundamentally rewire how you process reality. It's asking you to stop looking sideways at your neighbor's driveway. Stop looking at the lion eating the antelope and despairing about the cruelty of the world.
Right. Stop trying to manage the macro ledger.
Exactly. And instead just look internally at your own alignment with nature. You let the universe handle the cosmic ledger. You let the energy balance to zero on its own. You just handle your own peace.
And that leaves us with a lingering, deeply personal question for you to take away from this deep dive.
Let's hear it.
We started by looking at those broken scales. That exhausting feeling of frustration when the daily math of life doesn't seem to add up in your favor. But think about everything we've unpacked today. If you truly internalize the physics of this text, if you truly believe that the universe's energy always balances perfectly to zero in the end, and if you permanently stop comparing your personal daily ledger to your neighbor's, what is the very first decision you would make differently with your time today?